Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Zero bringing another Black Ops 2 gameplay commentary. This time we're playing Domination on the map Downhill. And I don't know if you guys saw it in the beginning, it wasn't up very long, but we have a couple special guests in this episode. Not commentating, of course, because they were our opponents, but we played against YouTubers Drift0r and JHub. Now, a lot of you guys don't know who Drift0r and JHub are. Drift0r does the Black Ops 2 in-depth series. Well, he's done in-depth for pretty much every Call of Duty, where he breaks down pretty much every aspect of Call of Duty and goes into great detail. I believe he's an engineer in real life, so his videos are definitely worth watching if you haven't. I know they've personally helped my game out quite a bit by helping me understand the game better. And J-Hub's just an all-around good guy. I mean, he's a phenomenal player, does really well, posts interesting gameplay, so you should definitely check those two out. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the perils of YouTube. Now, in a game like this, you'll see a lot of people will post YouTube videos of when they have played other popular YouTubers, and they basically want to do it as, a way to say, hey, look at me, I shit all over these popular YouTube players, I'm God. Well, this really isn't one of those videos. That's one of the bad things about YouTube, is once you get popular, people gun for you. I'm not going to lie, when I found out that Drift0r and JHub were in the lobby, I decided, okay, it's time to use my tryhard class, no time to mess around. I'm going to try to play to the best of my ability to get the win, because I know these guys are good. You'll have a lot of people that feel that way when, Drift0r and JHub possibly could have just been like, well, let's just, goof around, have fun, or let's try different setups. Which brings me to people's stats. Stats in this game, I know it's been said before, but they truly are meaningless. Your KD, your score per minute, honestly, all of it means nothing. In a game where, there is such bad latency at times, such bad lag compensation, you can't ever tell if you really won a gunfight. You can go back into theater and see what they saw, and that'll give you a better idea. But even then, theater is not perfect either. So every gunfight that I won in this game could have been because I was lagging less than the person that I was fighting. On their screen they may very well put 5-6 bullets into me, and by all rights I should be dead, but the way that the Black Ops 2 lag compensation and network code works, maybe my information that I killed them got to the host first. So when that happens, I get the kill. It doesn't matter how many bullets they put into me. If I send to the host first that I killed them, I get the kill. Another reason why stats are meaningless, and we've seen this time and time again, we'll get into a lobby and check the lobby leaderboard and see somebody with a really good KD and a high score per minute, and they'll back out. Now, why do they do that? Well, because they put way too much importance on those imaginary numbers in a video game. They'll see a few good players on the other team, and they'll decide, well, I don't want to ruin my KD, or I don't want to ruin my score per minute, so we'd better back out of here so that I can preserve these imaginary numbers. To me, that's just, I just don't understand that mentality. I don't think I've ever backed out of a lobby, because somebody had really good stats in it, or they seemed like they were a legit player. And we see it all the time when we play people. They'll notice, oh man, a couple of these guys have good score per minute or good KD, and they're legit, we better get out of here. I just don't understand that mindset. It's like the other day I was on, I think I got like a 27 gun streak with the M8A1, and after the game, some guy called me and said, oh man, if I would have, or not called me, but messaged me and said, if I would have known that was you, I wouldn't have killed you. And I messaged him back. I said, well, I appreciate the sentiment, but if I don't earn the nuclear legit, I don't want the nuclear. To me, there is absolutely no pride or no joy in getting an achievement that you didn't earn. I would rather die on a 29 gun streak than to let somebody notice that it's me and then just run up to me and stand there and let me kill them to get the nuclear. That would be a worthless achievement to me, and I don't see how you could take any pride in that. So stats in this game, they really don't mean much. I mean, the only way to know if somebody's a good player, honestly, is to play with them. You can have phenomenal stats. You can have 500 score per minute and a 3.0 KD, but if you don't help your team win the game, then what good are you, in all honesty? You're really not. That's why you have a lot of people who hate on quote-unquote kill whores and domination, because they don't understand how to play the game. They don't capture flags when needed, they don't defend when needed. They just run around trying to get as many kills as possible. Now, granted, there is a need for slayers in domination. You have to have somebody running around getting a lot of kills, preventing the enemies from getting score streaks, and to make it easier for you and your teammates to capture objectives themselves. But if you're doing that at the expense of winning the game, then you're not helping your team, you're not doing them any favors, and that doesn't make you a good player. You know, it just makes you selfish. Now, on top of that, everybody has bad games. You know, Sandy Ravage has bad games. The Mark of J has bad games. Optic Scumpy has bad games. Which, as a funny side note, my girlfriend absolutely despises Scumpy. I don't know what he did to make her hate him so much, but she absolutely cannot stand him. I have to wait until she goes to sleep so before I watch a Scumpy video because she hates him that much. And 90% of the time, her subconscious mind will wake up whenever Scumpy does his yo 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 introduction. It wakes her up. That is how much she hates him. It's actually hilarious. That's one of the biggest threats I use against her is, well, if you don't do what I want, then we're just going to go watch a Scumpy video and then I get my way. That's how much she despises Optic Scumpy. But back on topic, everybody has bad games. You know, I don't have very many negative games, but there are some times when we play when it's, you know, either lag compensation or when we just come up against flat out better players than we are, that I get my butt handed to me, that I'll go negative. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm not a good player, just like this game doesn't mean that Drift0r and JHub are bad players. You know, I think that JHub is a better player than I am, and I think that Drift0r is easily just as good as I am. You know, when you run into Drift0r, you never know if he's using some kind of weird setup so that he can try to get footage for another in-depth episode. Which I have a feeling that may have been the case here, since he was using an M8 with the EOTech all game, didn't switch it up. So I have a feeling that he was trying to get footage for an in-depth episode here. So that's, like I said, you know, the perils of YouTube. I could post this up and be like, oh, hey, look what I did to Drift0r and JHub. I destroyed them. No, that's not the case. They could have been doing something that, you know, like I said, trying to get footage for an in-depth episode. Or, you know, sometimes you just don't want to go hard in Call of Duty. Sometimes you want to goof around. You know, I'm not a professional quickscoper, but every now and then I just really enjoy bringing out a sniper rifle and just goofing around. You know, obviously I try to do well with it, but it doesn't mean that I'm trying my hardest, that I'm trying my best, and I certainly wouldn't want to be judged on those gameplays. Now, a lot of people will back out of lobbies when they're, you know, not doing too well or when their team's not doing too well. So I really have to give props to Drift0r and JHub. You know, they pretty much were carrying their team. There was, I think they had one or two other half-decent players on their team, but it was basically them two against our party of 5. And they stayed in the game. They didn't back out. I mean, they were in it till the end trying to win. And, you know, you have to respect that. I respect that so much more than somebody who, you know, dips out of the game at the first sign of adversity. You know, if your stats aren't legit, if you don't stay in the game that you're playing, you know, if you quit out so that you avoid getting your stats messed up, it's pitiful. It's honestly pitiful. It would be like being a UFC fighter and only accepting fights, you know, against grade schoolers, for one, by checking their stats in the pregame lobby. Or it would be like just, you know, taking the first punch in a UFC championship and then deciding, yeah, I don't want to fight this guy anymore. Bring me another guy to fight for my championship. You know, that's not the way the real world works. You know, you play who you're matched up against. You know, who your opponent is who your opponent is. And that brings me to the topic of reverse boosting. A lot of you people do it, which is, again, something I don't understand. You know, I don't make any money from YouTube. My channel is not monetized whatsoever, and I doubt that it ever will be monetized. I have no delusions that I'm going to become some huge YouTuber and get, you know, hell, even 10,000 followers and make any kind of money from YouTube. I would love to. Hell, if playing Call of Duty was my job and making YouTube videos was my job, yeah, I don't even know how I would act. I'd be so happy. But I don't ever think it's going to happen. You know, it's just not going to happen. I'm not even going to say I don't ever think it's going to happen. I know it's not going to happen. But some people on YouTube, and I'm not going to name names here because I don't, you know, I don't want this to become a call-out channel or a bitch channel. You know, I make these videos for me and you know, for the few people that do watch them. You know, I do this to have fun mainly. Like I said, I'm not going to get paid for this, so I don't want to get involved in any stupid YouTube drama about who reverse boosts and who doesn't. But that's just another thing I don't understand. You know, for one thing, how incredibly boring would it be to reverse boost to the point that you would get those easy lobbies? I mean, you would have to reset your stats and then play a ton of games where you just run around and die. where you don't capture flags, you get 1 or 2 kills a game so that you get that ridiculously low score per minute so you get those easy lobbies. How is it worth putting all those hours of sheer boredom in just so you can get easier gameplays? I just don't understand it. But once again, huge props to Drift0r and JHub for staying in here. And I actually sent Drift0r a message after this telling him that I'm a big fan. I've watched all his videos and how much they've helped me and that I enjoy playing against him. And he sent me back another message. Now, pay attention. This guy doesn't make excuses. Here we go.
I'd like to say that it was pleasurable to play against you, but it really wasn't. You spanked me really, really bad. It's been a long time since I've been smacked around like that. So in that regard, it's a good game, and the next time we meet, I'm going to be using a much different setup against you.
See, no excuses. That right there is a true pro. Alright guys, well, I hope you enjoyed the video. Zero out.